I need to show you how to test your OBS live stream. Getting a complex stream to run correctly can seem like a serious uphill battle, but a stream has to work properly and be easy to run if you're going to be able to connect with your audience. And I do understand that a lot of people haven't been troubleshooting this sort of stuff their entire life. So when something isn't working right, you may not even know where to start to figure it out. Now, I've spent countless hours testing and troubleshooting my live streams over the years. So I've created a simple checklist to help me be sure I test everything properly. I'm going to share that with you today and show you exactly how to test and troubleshoot your live streams. We've got a lot to get to today, so you know what? Let's get to it! Hello, my YouTube friends! When you stream, your main goal should be to connect with your audience. You can't do that if you have all kinds of issues or your stream is too complicated. My goal here is to help folks with no experience know where to look to fix audio issues, video sync, and resolution issues, and everything else that you might run into. Troubleshooting doesn't come natural to everyone. Sure, you might find someone else to help you figure it out, but the skills to be able to know where to look to figure it out will be a lot more handy in the long run. Plus, it will help you get more familiar with how OBS works. So let me show you how to properly test your stream on YouTube with this checklist. I say properly because if you don't know how to test everything, then you end up running into issues that you weren't expecting. There is a link in the description to the checklist so you can download it for yourself. It's totally free. So let's test. Okay, so we want to make sure, as you see, go live is the first thing we have to do, and it is an unlisted stream. And you can see right here in our live stream, it is unlisted. We're all set up and ready to go. I just chose stream right here, but you can create a stream right here if you go into manage or whatever you want to do. This stream is already set up, so I'm just going to reuse it. And so we want to just make sure it's unlisted, and we want to have our latency set the way we would normally have it to make sure that nothing's going to go goofy. This should be your standard live stream setting. So then all we have to do is go back into our OBS here and click start streaming. What we have to do then is go back over into here, and we'll be able to see that our stream came up and it is currently in excellent condition. We're going to go back into our OBS here, and what we want to do is go ahead and check our checklist. So the first thing we're going to do is open our stats window. To do that, we're going to go to our view and stats, and so this shows us everything we need to know. Disk space available, not really that big a deal. Drop frames on our network. So this tells us that we're having a slower network day than we might normally have, and we are dropping a few frames. And that makes perfect sense because my wife's downstairs working, and I wouldn't normally live stream at a time like this. But it lets us know that there could be a thing that's happening, and that's good to know. So we're going to kind of keep an eye on this. What I'm going to do is reset it. Once we start our stream and everything is up, we're going to see if it continues, and it looks like it is continuing. So we'll just keep an eye on that, and we can find out whether it's negatively affecting our live stream once we download it, because right now we really don't know. So if we go over here, what we want to do is move down our checklist a little more. We want to check any countdown timers that may run or a wait screen to be sure they work as expected. Now in my case, I don't have a countdown timer per se. I have a countdown screen, and this will just count down automatically, and I have it set up so I push a button when my intro goes, and it will just run through all of the scenes that are involved with the countdown and the start of my live stream. So you definitely want to do that sequence if you are obviously going to be testing your stream. You want to click that button and run through the entire sequence, and while you're running through it, you want to make sure that you are watching your stats window. And these are the stats we're really concerned about. You got to be concerned about the strength of your network, obviously. I know my network is a little chancy right now, so you want to keep an eye on both and be aware of what's going on. Now we want to go ahead and change through each scene one at a time and keep an eye on this stats window right here. Put it like that so we can keep a close eye on it. So now we have our stats window over here. What we're going to do, just like it says right here, is we're going to change through each scene one at a time, watching the stats window for any sort of dropped frames. So this right here, we're going to go ahead and hit the reset, and I'm in my main, and we're going to go to our tutorial scene right here, and this is set up totally different. We're not seeing any dropped frames or anything like that. We are getting dropped frames for network problems, like I explained before. We've got Monica's intro. We're going to go ahead and run through every single scene in our live stream in its entirety to make sure that we don't get any dropped frames and all that stuff. Now, since we are streaming, YouTube is recording that stream, which makes it really easy for us to analyze any kind of problems or issues that we may be having on the other side. On a scene like this, it's very busy. There's leaves blowing, all kinds of stuff can happen. A scene like this could prove to be problematic for some streams. Once you run through every one of your scenes, you want to go ahead and test the alerts for your live stream. And alerts are set up in a lot of different ways. My particular alerts are set up in StreamerBot. Yours might be set up in Stream Elements. You want to go to every scene that those elements are supposed to work in and test each one. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and pull up StreamerBot here, and I'm going to select my alert, and I can just go to triggers right here, right click and test the trigger. There we go. It automatically puts my mask on, changes my voice, puts me on the proper scene, and then what it should do is actually flip back to the other one. Now obviously for this tutorial, it's not changing my voice. Sorry guys. You'll have to actually watch the stream to see how this really works. But needless to say, I wait out the timer. It should flip me back to the other scene. Be ready to go. And there we go. So we know that's working. We want to go ahead and test every single alert that we have. I also have another style of alert. So we're going to go and we're going to test this one. And there we go. That one seems to be functional. We also want to look at other things like our last subscriber, last donation. Make sure those are functioning. Those are a product of Stream Elements, so they are working definitely for our live stream. You want to do this for any scene that you may have alerts in. So we're going to go over here and we're just going to test. We're going to make sure that this alert works in this scene as well. Once you test your alerts in all of your scenes, and of course you're still watching to make sure that you're not dropping any frames or lagging or anything like that. Everything looks pretty good right here. We're going to go and move on to our next step. If you use a soundboard, you want to test each audio clip one at a time in each scene that you're going to be using them in. So what that means is I have two scenes that I would use soundboard clips in. I want to go over here into my main scene, test my soundboard. Then I would want to go into my tutorial scene, go ahead and test the soundboard. Everyone's soundboard might be set up differently, so you're going to want to test it for the way that your stream works. Next, we want to go and we want to test any video assets that you may have on your live stream. Now, most of my video assets are loaded up using the downstream keyer. I can go down here and select the scenes for the video assets, or I can even go in here and just click the eyeballs to run the video assets. But for me, it's kind of a lot easier. All I have to do is go over here and click on them, and those video assets will come up and run. And once again, we want to be making sure that our stats are still good. So far, we've only dropped 4 frames right here. And even our network connection appears to be coming around a little bit. We want to just go ahead and test every single one of those video assets that you're using and make sure that it doesn't bog down the stream or cause things that we wouldn't normally expect. And again, there's a good reason why you test each and every one. You just never know. I have a perfect example. I did a celebration stream for when I hit a certain number of subscribers or something, just to say thank you to my audience. And when I set it up, I had a scene that had like fireworks and confetti, and I put simple text over top of it, you know, thanks to my audience or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I would switch this particular video on to any scene. And when I tested it, I would go and see that basically as soon as I turned this video on, my stream would become basically like a 5 frames per second thing. It was like a slideshow, not a stream. And no matter what I did, optimizing this particular piece of media and this video, no matter what I did, it would just do that every single time. And sometimes you're just going to run into a piece of media that won't work with whatever you're trying to do for whatever reason. My video card did not want to encode that at any frame rate that was usable for my live stream. So basically, the smart thing to do after testing and testing and testing and trying to get it to work was just to find another piece of media or try something else, which is exactly what I did. But that's why we test every single piece of media to see if there's just that one outlier that doesn't make any sense and it doesn't work and we can't fix it. So you got to test every single one. Next, we're going to go and we're going to do any video assets that should be tested multiple times to make sure they run properly for exactly the reason why I just said. Now, guest scenes. You want to connect all your guests, and I do have guests on my live stream. If I go and click the button right here, you're going to see that right over there should be a guest. They're not connected right now. And I can click this button right here, and right over top of me on that side would be another guest. And I test those every single week before I go live to make sure that the audio is working properly and that the video comes through the way I'm expecting it to come through. And you definitely, when you're doing a full-fledged test, you want to do this. And the reason why is because audio problems aren't always something you hear in your headphones. They can go out to your viewers. And those are perpetuated all the time when you're live streaming from your guest. And I'll explain why later in the video. The second reason why you want to do it is to make sure that the guests that are connecting to your live stream understand how to connect properly, so you're not having to worry about it while you're actually streaming or right before you stream. You don't need that extra stress. Make sure they understand how to connect. Now, the last thing that we want to do is test any plugins or effects or anything that you might be using. For example, I use Social Stream Ninja for my chat, so I may want to go and test to make sure that's working. In fact, I definitely want to go and test to make sure that's working. So how I would do that? Well, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pop out my chat, and that's all you need to do to make Social Stream Ninja work. And then I can just type in here, hello, and I can go back over into my stream and I can see whether or not it is functioning the way that it's supposed to function. Boom. And right there we can see that my chat did come through on my Social Stream Ninja. And this chat makes other things work. We want to bring up our stats window just so we can be sure that this isn't causing any sorts of problems with our stream. I can go ahead and click that, make sure that that plugin is working properly. So you want to test all of the little aspects and plugins that you have working. I already tested the downstream keyer with my videos to make sure that that's working, and you can see the little video going on right there. That works properly. You just want to make sure you run through every possible scenario in every scene that it may be used. So it could function perfectly in this scene, but when I switch over to my tutorial scene, it may not function properly. If you use multiple transitions, you want to make sure that you test every single one of those as well. Lower thirds. There are different plugins for lower thirds. There are also third-party pieces that you could put in here that do lower thirds. You want to test all of those to make sure they work. That is running through the entire checklist. And the main thing that you need to remember is to run through the checklist and do it on each scene that every asset is going to be used on. And you're going to be watching closely these numbers right here and this right here. So when I download this, it's going to tell me whether these dropped frames negatively affected my stream. Did it cause my voice to go out of sync with my video? Well, you know, this right here means it's possible. That could be a thing. It's actually happening. And so if you drop frames here, it can also cause the exact same kind of thing. You can also get buffering or stuttering. Usually drop frames on your network, like what we're seeing here, is exactly the kind of thing that could cause buffering. Now, this hasn't been too bad, and my kilobits per second is very, very high, so I'm not generally worried about it. Even if I lost 10 to 15% of the entire stream, it should be more than watchable for my viewers. However, it is definitely not good to see this orange or red. So for me, I obviously wouldn't have my wife working downstairs while I'm live streaming. That's not good. Okay, so now you know how to do a proper stream test by running through the checklist. Now we have to troubleshoot any issues that may have come up. Once you do your test stream, you want to download it and re-watch it. Now here's how you do that. So we go ahead and stop the stream, we click end, and next we want to download everything. Now it says edit here in the studio, and you could probably just listen to it there if you wanted to, but I don't recommend that. We're going to go ahead and dismiss that. We're going to come up here into the studio, and we're going to go into our content, and then we're going to go into live, and we're going to take a look, and here it is right here. So all we have to do is click on this options button right here, and we can go to download. But first, we're going to have to wait for this to be ready to download. It does take a minute or two for it to process. If I go to an older live stream, you can see download is there. All you have to do is click on download, and boom, it just pops up here, and it will download into your download folder. And we can see right here, it is in the process of downloading. So it's that simple to download these, and then you have them available to run through and check that what you expected to get on your live stream is what you actually got for the viewer. So you become the viewer instead of just the actual streamer. It's really important to do this because you never know when audio issues and volume problems are going to happen. Now you have to do this because maybe everything looked fine on the broadcast side, but there could be audio issues like doubling or sync issues that you don't notice while you're broadcasting. There could also be audio problems with something being too loud or too quiet. Fixing the volume issues is easy. You just adjust the sliders on the volume controller for the assets that need adjustment. Audio doubling is usually caused by one of two things. Something on your machine playing the stream in the background, usually the YouTube Studio screen is the culprit. You can just mute that and the problem is probably solved. Sometimes it's some other app. In my case, this happens to Monica's voice in the stream when I have audio loaded on my second OBS session. Now honestly, this makes no sense why it's happening, but sometimes they don't. That's why we test. To resolve this, I just make sure that the audio in the second OBS session used for my tutorial scene in my stream is muted and the problem is fixed. So you may have to go around and mute stuff to hunt the issue down. The second thing that can cause audio doubling is a guest not wearing headphones. They're listening to the conversation on their speakers and it's just fed back into their microphone on delay, causing audio doubling. The fix for this is to have everyone wearing headphones. Let's look into audio sync issues. First, audio sync issues are when the sound does not line up with the video, for those wondering exactly what I'm talking about. This can be from cameras or video on your stream. Audio sync issues can be super hard to resolve and can be caused by a couple of different things. The first and much more common cause is limitations of the computer that you're using. The computer can't render the video and the audio fast enough to keep up, so they end up out of sync. You can determine if this is your issue by going into tools and stats and looking at your rendering drops. If you see red, your computer is not processing the frames fast enough to keep up. The fix is to make sure that you are using a proper encoder for your system. If you're using an NVIDIA card, it should be the NVIC encoder. And if you're using an AMD card, there is another encoder for that. If you don't have a dedicated graphics card, then you would be using X264. And this is where a bulk of the issues usually come from. If you're using X264 and you're experiencing sync issues, the only way to fix it is to make your stream easier to process. You do this by lowering the bit rate, frame rate, and resolution of your live stream. If you're streaming in 1080 at 60 frames per second, lower the frame rate to 30 frames per second and adjust the bit rate down and try again. If the issue is still there, adjust the resolution to 720 and then lower the bit rate again. When you lower your bit rate, you're gonna wanna resize all of your assets to 720 to optimize them for the resolution as well. If you go to 720 and you're still experiencing issues, it may be time to update your equipment or switch to a browser-based streaming tool like EVMux or Restream. Now the second thing that causes sync issues is USB ports. Now you'll know it's probably USB ports if you don't have red on your stats page when you're checking this out. If you have a USB webcam and a USB microphone, they sometimes have different processing delays. So if you don't have red in your stats window for the rendering, but you have out of sync audio for your camera, this is likely the issue. You can adjust the timing of your video or audio to line these up properly. In the advanced options for audio, you can use the sync delay to adjust the timing of your audio. Or if you need to delay your video a bit, you can do that here in the filters under render delay. The last thing that causes this sort of issue is audio or video processing of any sort. Noise gate, compressor, or anything like that can cause a delay in your audio and make it out of sync with your video. Now you can fix these sync issues the same way as the USB problem, by delaying your audio or your video. The only other fairly common issue that you may run into is grainy camera footage. Now this is 100% lighting. Add some lights or move them around until it fixes the issue. The other thing that can help is to go into the camera options menu and adjust the settings. However, this is not ideal as a lot of times these will reset every time you open OBS again. So the right fix is definitely proper lighting. There is also something to be said about simplifying your stream as well to make it easier to manage. The main goal should always be to connect with your audience, and you can't do that if you're constantly dealing with the technical aspects of the stream. So there you have it, how to test your OBS live stream. Are there other common issues that you run into that I didn't cover here? Let me know in the comments. If you want to see a cool tool that can help run your streams so you can focus on connecting with your audience, you should check this video out. And if you're always looking for tools, tips, and tricks to help make you a better live streamer or YouTuber, subscribe to the channel. My name is Michael Feyrer Jr. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.